Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In this video I'd like to take a look at the trades that have been unfolding this morning on the DAX. This is the German stock market, using the MTP RT add-ons for NinjaTrader 7. That's what we've got here. So what I want to look at is today, which is basically from the start here, and as you can see the DAX has fallen very sharply this morning. STF has been red all the way through, indicating that the trend is down, so therefore we'd be only looking at sell setups and not buy setups. So this buy history triangle would have been avoided because it was against the STF. So the two setups I'd like to look at are this one here, if I put the analysis on, a TS3 sell setup here, as you can see caught the high there beautifully, and then also this TS2 sell setup later in the day. Now this is a standard, if I deal with this one first, standard MTPredictor trade setup, TS2 sell. It was a double top here, that's why there was a history triangle and not a label. The short trade was not stopped out and the market went down to the first target. We look at the strength of the STF in relation to the strength band. It's what we call weak, therefore we'd come out at this first target here for a nice plus 5.2R. So this was a great standard and automatic trade setup. If we go back to this one here, again, the reason it's a history triangle, not a label here, is because the swings changed, but as you can see we left the history triangle on there, so you knew that was a setup there if you want to go back and analyze it after the fact. Now the difference between this one is we would not be coming out at the first target. Okay, if I look at the STF strength when we hit the target, which was here, the STF was actually strong. Can you see that? There's the level of the first target, so if I go to that bar there, we come down, the STF is strong. So for the standard trade management guidelines, you would then swap to the ATR stop, which is our red dots, which would have held this short trade all the way down to here. So if I now put the risk reward on this particular trade setup, that would mean that the trade would not have come out at this level. It would have been held short all the way down to here, where the profit would have been an approximate plus 11.7R profit. So you had plus 11.7R and then 5.2R profit after that. So a very good day. Also, I'd like to have a quick look at how this trade setup fits in with the larger degree trend, because so far I've just talked about the trade setups as standard trade setups, and as you can see they've come through very nicely. However, with a advanced eye on this, if I go to the 15-minute chart, what we do is, here's the start of today and here's the decline down. So I want to look at this pivot here and see whether it's what we call is an important high or low. So for this I go back to the prior pivot, I put the decision point on, and as you can see that caught that high beautifully. If I just put a little rectangle down around this, that means it will stay on as we change chart time frames. So I'll just put a little rectangle around there. Just get it about right. It's very hard when it's quite small. About right. So when we now go down to the 3-minute chart, we can see that this was what we call a 15-minute decision point. In other words, a resistance area on the higher time frame. Now that's important because when we come to this trade setup here, we are automatically no longer looking at the first target, because this is what we call is a Holy Grail trade setup. The reason for this is because this was an important high. This was the initial decline down, which is a wave 1. This was the initial correction back up, which unfolded in ABC. In Elliott wave terms, this is a wave 2. So at the very least, we should have been looking for the typical wave 3 WPT, which you can see is down here, rather than the first target. So at the very least, MTPredictor traders would have been looking down here for a potential, whoops, I missed that. Down here for a potential short trade. So at the least this would have been a plus 9R trade. Now when we look at the STF, you can see it really was strong. There was no question about it as well. So again, traders would have swapped to the ATR stop, as we saw in the first example earlier, and been stopped out here for approximately 11.7R. But the point being is, right from the outset on this particular trade setup, because it was what we call a Holy Grail trade setup, MTPredictor traders would have been looking for at least the typical wave 3 WPT. But in this particular example, the end result was the same. So far this morning, let's recap. We had a major high here, market came down, opened, went up, gave us a sell setup there. We then used our ATR stop because the STF was strong, therefore we knew that the market was going to trend down into this level here for plus 11.7R. Now remember, we use correct position sizing here to keep our risks small and under control. So in this example, to keep our risk less than 2% of a $20,000 euro account, it meant only trading one contract. So that's what we use there, our correct position sizing. So therefore this would have turned a 238 euro risk approximately into approximately 2,700 euros, or a profit of approximately 11.7R, or 11.7 times the initial risk. Then we came in here and did a standard and automatic trade setup for another plus 5.2R. So as you can see, a very, very good day for the MTPredictor software today on the DAX, where we nailed two beautiful trades that have captured pretty much most of the profit out of this very sharp decline this morning.